and you have communications project name. Let's give some package name and click on next, and you have next, and you have finish. Yeah. Okay, so this is main activity again. So let me create one more activity where we are going to create an intent. Okay, fine. That's right. We'll check out with this intent because we are going to actually call some other activity, right? So let me create one more activity called second activity, and let me just say this is something called second activity and finish. Right. So first we'll see, anyways, we have already seen that part, like how to go to one intent to other intent. So someone was asking, like, carrying over the information from one activity to other activity, right, are getting some issues. So always, right, the first step what you guys have to do, right, so as we are using the latest APIs, right, don't create XML separate and class separate, right. Always try to create them intact, and always keep the name same. Okay, if you want to change the name here, always change that so that even corresponding name of your class will be changed, right? So tomorrow, like, these projects, you will not be a single person who will actually be watching on this project, right? Because so for some persons, let us say you're actually giving back the code to a client, right? Then even your client should be able to actually gather, okay, for this XML, so that will be your corresponding class. If you want to change, you can also change that part. So let me show you that part. If you change that, accordingly the name will change. Let us say you want to give brand new thing called my layered something called activity, something, right? Then you can see it will actually append your XML with activity underscore, and whatever name you are giving, it will be appended over here, right? So maintain this because this is something which is standard. Your XML should be with activity underscore, and your class name, whatever you give, will be appended here. So that is what happens here. You can see here we have activity underscore main, and you can see I just gave class name again underscore activity and all. Fine. So this is what this is how you should actually follow, and don't change anything here. Once you create, don't change anything. But just while creating, you can actually give any name or anything you want. Right. Then that's the first step of keeping every thing in place. And second thing is never ever change any folder names with respect to if you want to keep something in order, right? Sometimes you change the folder names. Don't do that here because our SDK, Android SDK, will create folder structure as such whenever you are creating APK, right? So that APK will actually be mapped with these folders. Right? If you rename something, then you have to make sure that wherever the connection is there, you have to change the connections even there. Right? You don't have to do that because APK file, your project will be in the way that whenever your APK is created, right, that APK will actually follow the same structure internal to that zip file. Right? So that will be with that as our first step. We'll move on. So let me create a button here. So let me show you again bundle because that is something again which is very important. We will be actually doing this bundling, sending data from one activity to other activity again and again. Right? So let me take, so instead of this, again let me take the same example, which is, let me take a number. And let me take, one more number. Okay. And then we'll take some button. We'll see different things on bundle. Right? Now this, let's go back here. So this was my first text box. So let us give as edit text 1. Let me make it as edit text 2. Sorry. So let me take this video, let me just say, this time let's do some multiplication. Just say not. Just say get result. right? So you have to mention your edit number here and your number here below this. Okay? Perfect. Now this will be your first text box, the second text box, and sorry, edit text, and then you have a button. Now whenever activity loads, if you want to make your first edit text as focused, right, then you will have to use edit text 1 with the focus. Now you can see as of now your edit text 2 is in focus, if you can see here, right? But normally we always keep the first text box wherever you want user to enter the first value should be focused, right? So let's see this part and then we'll actually change that request focus. Let me run this. Let me set Android application. So this is a brand new project we created. So you can see APK file name also got changed, right? So this time this is our APK file, which is a brand new APK being uploaded. So let me just get back on. So this is starting activity and let me start. And you can see the second text box is focused. Right? Why? Because you can see here that our request focus is there for our second text box. So that is why we have that is screen selected over here, right? So we'll just delete this part and we want to request focus here. So just say request focus. Come on. Let me cut it and paste it here. Right. So this time our number 1, which is edit text, which whose ID is edit text number, will be getting focus. So if you just check out that. Now you can see our first text will be focused, right? Fine. Now let's get back to the main activity now. So what we want to do here is, so again let me just take up again. So just give some attention here guys, because I'm explaining this bundle part again. So this we'll see different things in bundle part, how we can actually get. So in our previous classes, right, we have seen something called creating a direct, getting the bundle and then getting some string and all, right? So we'll see what exactly can be done here. Right. Now on click of my control here, which is button widget, we want to send the data which is number 1 and number 2 to my second activity, and in that second activity we have to multiply something. Let's see how we can do that. Right. So here let me take a try catch. Here let me take button, which is LOBJBTN is equal to find view by ID, where you will be getting r dot id dot btn mult. Here you are going to cast it to a button, and then we'll just take up something called dot set on click listener of new on click listener here. Now here we are going to write the logic of sending things. Let me create a try catch here. Now here first let us take text view 1, which is, let me call it as ltxt num1 is equal to, we have find view by ID, we have something called r dot id dot edit text number 1. In the same way, let's take one more text view, which is LTXT num2. You have your find liberty, you have r dot id dot edit text number. So here let's add a casting and again add a casting here, right? Now, so these are two numbers we have got. Let's get the values what we have entered. Let me call this LSTR num1. So how we can get that? Using our LTXT number1 dot get text. Will give us a character sequence, and then let's take string LSTR number2 as LTXT num2 dot get text. This will give us a second text. So this actually gives a character sequence, so we will convert it to type constitute string. Okay. Now with this we have got the text field whatever we have entered. Now what we want to do now here is we want to send the same data to the second activity we have. So let's create an intent first. So this is one step, and the second step is we will be creating intent. Let me call it as LOGKINT is equal to, you have new intent of, so this is a current class which is main activity dot, we have something called this, and we want to go to second activity dot class. And then let's start activity of some intent. Now with this what it will do is it will simply take our position from first activity, the current activity, to the second activity. That's it, right? So but what we are more interested here is we want to send the data from current activity to the next activity. Now, so this activity is the source activity where you want to feed data, and the next activity is the destination activity where you want to retrieve data, right? So if you want to feed, then you have to use your intent, right? Intent, the object of intent should be pointing to the activity class where you are actually moving to, right? So to this intent you can create something called put extra. So this is a method which we have. You can see there are all sort of object types you have. You have primitive types, you have reference types, right? You have even literal variables which you can define separately and you can actually assign to this, right? You have everything. So as of now we want something which is some character sequence value. So here you can give string put extra of this. These two values are something which will give you a name of the name of this attribute and the value. This is same as providing, like you have cookies in your web application, right? Or cookies or sessions or something which can maintain session object where you will save a key and a value. So key is the main representation of the data which you are going to save in that. In the same way here you have the key. So let me give it as num1, and the value is LSTR num1. So this is the first value, and in the same way let me just put extra of something called num2. So you have to remember these keys. So until unless you remember these keys, you can't get the data, right? Num2. Right?
Hi, Srinath.
Yeah, Sita.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Is it possible here, like if you want to forward the object, maybe create one object which has some.
I'll show you. Yes, you can do that. I'll show you that. The next step is that one actually. I'll show you.
Alright,
right? You can see here, which is put extra. You will have something called serializable. You have serializable too, where you can actually send some object. Let me just see one more. You can use directly serializable value, or you also have a bundle directly. You can create a separate bundle where you can actually put so many entities and you can pass on. Right? Now let me create something here. Let me create a class CLS. Let me create some object. So it's the extra of your right? So you can see it will actually accept it. We'll see that, okay? We'll see the object part. So for now, we have start activity which is carrying a string data type actually, right? Which is also a reference type. String is always a reference type we have. It is not, string in Java is not array of characters. No, that is not the true statement for string. String is always an object type, rather it is a reference type, right? Now this is my first step of let me just mute. Okay, fine. Thank you. So this is our second step where we are going to start our activity. Fine. Now let's go to the second activity. So let me go to the second activity. So here in this activity, in our activity class, so whenever I say activity class here, you can see we are creating intent to move from current class, which is an activity, to the next class, which is the second activity. So here we are going to handle the data. So here let's take a bundle object. So bundle is something where we will be getting the data which is fed using put extra in our previous activity, right? So we have lobj bmdl is equal to, now we have to get the current instance of intent. Now how can you get? So you have an internal method of activity called get intent. Get intent will actually give you the intent object, right? Dot. So we want all the extras. So you can see whatever extras you have created, right? It will actually give the extras part. This will give you the complete bundle part. Now you have bundle dot get string. You can see you have something called get string here, right? Which is a get string, right? And you have to give a key of that. So let me give the key, which is, let's say this key is your num1. You have to make sure whatever value you are getting here, right, should be, the key should be same as the key you have mentioned here, right? Otherwise it will actually give you the null pointer exception. I'll show you that part too, right? So this is my string lstr num1, let us say. And in the same way, let me take one more string, which is lstr num2 is equal to lobj bundle dot, you have get string of num2. Now as your number 1 and number 2 strings are ready, now the next step is to show the multiplication, right? So here first, whenever you get the data, let us create a toast and show them. So let me create a toast here, dot make text of application context, just say values retrieved. So just say lstr num1 and some space, lstr num2. The duration will be your toast dot, you have something called long dot show. Fine. So this will actually show you what are the numbers you have retrieved from first activity to the second activity, and then we have to multiply them. So in order to multiply them, what we have to do, we have to convert them into integers, right? We can't multiply two strings. So what I'm going to do here is I'll take string, which is, let's say I'm going to take as result is equal to, I'm going to convert the first one as integer dot parseInt of string number 1, plus you have one more integer dot parseInt of your string. I hope you know these things, and the result will actually give you integer, right? So you have to, once you get integer, you have to convert it to string again. So how can we connect? Again, go for the wrapper class dot toString. This will actually give you the string form of, okay, we are checking about multiplication, right? You can just say multiplication. That's fine. This into this will give you an integer, and we are going to convert that to string by using a wrapper class called integer dot toString. So once you are done with your result, then just create our toast again here, dot make text of application context, and just say result as result. Duration will be post dot long dot show. So this will be the result part. Now this is how we even have seen our previous classes, but bundling part, why it won't move from one activity to other activity is if you don't create a correct connection between them will be the first reason, right? So let us run this part. So it says installing APK, let it install. So here we have, let us give some 10 and let's give some 10 again and click on get result. Now we should go to the next activity. Okay, why is it not going nice? We have better object listener and so let me create a toast here so that we can show that if there is any error. So you have some 10 and 10 and click on get result. Cannot cast to string, spam string. So what is wrong here is you just got the text here, edit text, and we are converting this get text to string. So can you guys see anything wrong here? This gives a character sequence. I'm converting buffer type as spammable. So we have already seen this part. I'm just giving now. Oh, guys, this is a text. We just converted that to get but how that text? What is going over here? Cannot cast into string. That's fine. So the thing what we have done is we were actually converting an edit text to text view. Okay, that's fine. So let me restart this and we'll see what happens now. You have 10 entered, click on get result. Yes, if you go to second entry, you can see values retrieved 10 and result 100. Fine. So this is the first step. Anyway, so we have seen, right, I think you guys haven't noticed that. So we were actually converting an edit text to text view, right? So it is, we are actually, crossing up that, it won't happen there, in that way, right? So once we change this, then it will actually work out, right? Now, in this example, what we have seen is we have seen something, sending a particular key and handling it over here. Now, if you don't send anything, what happens? Which means, let us say, if you are actually not setting on one, but you are trying to handle that over here in your second activity, right? Then what happens here? What should we do actually, right? Let me just give toast here so that we can see if there is an error. Error 2, which is second activity. Let me just give e dot get message. Okay, not sure here. Now let me run this project once. So here the thing is we haven't handled this, but we are actually directly handling that. Okay, it is there. We'll see what happens now. So let it run. Just give me a minute. I'm just getting a call from your consultancy. Okay, so let us run this. So okay, we have already executed this. Okay, let me give 10, 100 and 10 over here. So we are setting some value here which is 100, but we are not actually passing on that value, right? So let me run this. So when I run it, we can see value set to we got null, right? We can see we got an error here, right? So we got an error in this situation. Let me just run it again. Oops. Let me go back. Click on get result again. We can see that values retrieved is null and 10, and when we try to multiply it, right, we can see you can't multiply a null value with some number, right? So in this case what happened, you can see that complete thing got disturbed. We were actually doing some part, right? We haven't handled it in the right way, right? So that is what happened. Now here, whenever you are actually getting anything, right? Now it can be case even in your web applications or anywhere. If you are actually handling any session, right, always try to check whether there is a value for this or not. Always. So how can we check that? Just say if this is null, right? Then say something here. This can be null, or so in our case both of them should not be null, right? So if this is null, or if your number 2 is null, then you should say that toast dot make text application, just say one of extra value is null. Right, please check out, right? And just say duration toast dot you have long dot show, right? And then once you are done with this, you just say return, right? So that it won't move it. Now why I'm saying this is, let us say after doing some operation, right, let's say you have done some very important steps over here. What happens if you don't handle them, right? Then obviously, it's going to kill that. Okay, even if you are not checking out the values, right, you are moving ahead with the null value, and somewhere it will get disturbed and it will be crashed out. That's what it happens, right? And one more thing, as we are handling exception handling, right, that's why it just gave error at 2. If you can see here at again, when I clicked on get result, right, it will give this null, and you can see it actually went into error at 2, and it just gave that we can't multiply null value with an integer. So for that case, instead of doing that, just check this out, right? So let me run this. This is one way of checking that, right? I'll show you what exactly you can do in another way without checking these things again. Okay, so let me give 10 and some 20, that result. Right, you can see one of the extra value will be, that's it. It'll go off. Right, now it is not moving forward, and we have killed the program here itself. Killed in the sense we are not moving with on create method anymore. So in this way you should check the values again. And if you want to check here itself, right, let's say you have two numbers here, right? So let us say you are giving something which is, let's say I'm actually passing num1 and num2 too. Let's see in this case what happens. Let me run this. As of now, here we are handling the null value. If it is null, just don't go ahead and don't do anything. But let me show you one more situation what can happen. So here let's say you have, I'm not giving any first value, let's say I'm giving only one value. Click on get result. Right, now you can see value returned 20. Now you can see again error. Right, so this time what happened? This time what happened is, it was not null but not even a number. Right, so in that case again what you have to do, again you have to check whether it is there is some value or not and all. Right, so as many conditions you have to check, right? You have to check all. Basically that's a basic thing here. And whenever you are converting this, right, whenever you are actually doing some conversions, which is typecasting, right, always habituate to handle try catch at that point of time, which is you have to handle it here, try catch here, and handle them at that place too. Because in Java you can have a nested try catches, right? Always try to do that part. Now whenever if anything happens, you are directly catching your result, your exception here. You can keep this result part outside. Okay, so result, if you get result, okay. So here this exception, let me keep it here. And just say if you are getting any error, then just say at least result should be some 279, let's say. I'm just fixing the value, right? Something, this logic can be anything. If you are getting multiplication, well and good. If you are actually getting any exception, at least 279 will be displayed. That is what I'm going to do here now. Let me run this. Okay, so let's give only second value maybe, and click on that result. Value set cleared only one value, and you can see there is an error, right? and also you'll see result as 279, right? Even if you're getting any exception in this, we are proceeding with some default value. You can actually do that part if you actually handle try catch at the place where you feel that there can be an exception can happen. Right? This is one more thing which you have to do this part. And in Java, exception handling is very strong. Right? It will actually help you in saving you from crashing an application. Always. That's why whenever I write any method, right, always try to write try catch, and in your catch, always try to write this toast. Or if you want to actually log that in your logcat, right, what you can do, I've already shown you that. You can just go ahead and say log dot d of tag is, let's say, error at 2, and message you can just print this error get message. Now this is something which is a logcat, so this will be logged over here. Now why do we have to do this is if you want to export the error and if you want to give it to anyone, right, then you have to log these things in your exception, right? So let me show you that. Activity manager startup. Let me open this logcat here. Let me give just 10 here. Click on get result. Go back to this and see what happens here. Okay, I just cleared it off, no issues. Go back, you get result. We can see error. Error at 2 is something invalid integers. Now this one is we are actually logging it in our logcat. So this is a way how you can actually log in your logcat. Right? In console, anyways, you can directly say something called sys error. Right? You can directly go for sys error, where you have to go it here. If you want to make the logging in your console, right, then obviously your logcat will not work. You have to go for something called sys error, which is system error, and you can actually print the whole thing here, right, with this plus. Right, so now if you run this, now you can see error in 3 different areas, right? First area will always be your you can go ahead and clear this logcat, go ahead and clear this console, go back here. Starting activity. Okay, so let's give some 10 here. Get result. The first exception here itself, you can see value retrieve, and you can see exception here. And if you go back here, you can see in your logcat, you can see the same exception. If you go to console, right, you have to see where is that. Starting activity, and we have seen something called sys error, right? It should print. It will print actually basically. When you say sys error, right? So system error, right, which means you are actually writing into your console. So this console is nothing but this. So whatever you write here should be printed in this area of your form. But that's fine. Okay. Normally for Android we always go for logcat if you want to check anything pertaining to your activity as such. Fine. Now this is how you can do. Now this is how you have to handle different things when you actually go ahead with this things, right? Now let us see how you can actually send an object, right? Send an object across your activity. Right? So let me create another activity. Let me close all. Let me create new other activity here. Next, let me call it as object intent. Finish. So what we are gonna do here is, let's say in my this one, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a simple button. So this button, let me call it as btn go object something, make it as go, and let me create one more activity here. Next, let me call it as obj2 activity, and in here let's see what we can actually do that. Right now let's go to main activity. So we have to write, so on create we don't want anything here as of now, right? So this is done. So let's create the same intent, and we don't need any put extras, we just want to send it to activity called object intent activity. Fine, perfect. Now in this object intent activity here, so what we are going to do here is we want to so here let me create a separate class here. So first let me create a package, let me call it as com.sr. let's say it's common package. So in this package I'm going to create a class, let me call it as CLS globals. So in this globals let me create some properties like string, let's say its name, you have private string, or let's take it as ID, right? Two things. Now for these things let's create getter and setter. That's fine, even if you don't do all these things, that's fine, but only catch here is we are just trying to create an object of something. Now let's go back to the object intent. Now here, so we have to handle the button, let me call it as btn is equal to find view by id, r dot you have id dot btn go object. Now here, so when I click on this button, we want to go to set on click listener of new on click listener. So here what we are going to do here is import the view. So try catch. So here now we have to create an intent first, which is lobj intent is equal to new intent of your current activity, which is object intent activity dot this, comma, so we have to go to object 2 activity dot class, and you have to start activity of this intent. Right? Now this is our intent class as such. Now here let's create an object of CLS globals. Let me call it as lobj CLS globals is equal to new CLS globals, right? And let's create CLS global dot set name, right? Something ABC, and lobj CLS globals dot set. Now here what you are doing is, through one object you are actually sending multiples instead of creating different keys, right? So we have seen in our previous case that for each and every value we are creating multiple keys, but here we are creating one object where we have defined some variables and we are setting the data for that variables. Now let me give ID as 1 2 3 4 5 and yes. Now before sending this I want to add it to my intent dot set, sorry, put extra. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use this, let me call it as my object, a key, and the value I'm going to give my CLS globals. Right, so this will actually take it as put extra intent not applicable, right? So what we have to do here is, you can see here in your put extra, right, you have one thing called serializable, right? So you can actually give an object of serializable value. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to implement this with serializable thing, right? So once you implement this, what happens, this can be converted to buffer, right? Serialization, I hope you know about serialization in our Java. So what will serialization will do is, when you actually implement a serializable thing, right? So what happens here is, this class, when you create an object of this class, so that class can be converted to an object as such. So that is why we use serializable. Now serializable is something which is also called as your markup interface. So markup interface is something which will actually give an indication to JVM that yes, this class is something which can be transformed to buffer form. Now you can see, right? You are able to put an extra of this, right? Now let's go to the second activity. Which is object 2, right? So here what we are going to do, try catch. Now here let me take bundle again, and obj bmdl is equal to, we have get intent dot get extras, right? And just say bundle dot get, we have serializable. You can see, as we are trying to get object of globals, right, which you have serialized, you have to deserialize it, right? You can use serializable and give a key. Your key is nothing but my object. Take it here, right? So this will actually give you an object. Let me create an object of serialized globals. Let me call it as lobj sum2 is equal to this. But as this will give you a type of object, right, then you have to typecast it to globals. Now your data is ready. Now what you can do, you can actually get the details. Let me take string lstr, or you can directly say toast. Let me create a toast here, dot make text of application context, and just say details, name and ID, right? So in the place of name, give lobj dot get name. You can see we can actually directly get that. Plus we have lobj dot get ID, right? And duration, let's say it's a toast dot we have something called long dot show. Now this is where, so once you deserialize this object, it will be converted from buffer to again an object class, and then we are actually getting the values, because it will be mapping when the buffer converts to object. Now let me run this part and we'll see what happens now. Click on go. So when you click on go, it will go to next activity. Now you can see name, ABC and that, right? So you can't see that, so let me just do one thing. In our second activity, let me take one text view. So this is a text view. Let me call it as text view data. And what we're going to do, so whatever data we're getting, let's map it to that. So let me create a string lstr data is equal to, let me just copy the whole thing, whatever you have done here, paste it here and give this data, and also take your text view lobj.txt is equal to find view by id. You have your r dot id dot, you have text view data. So I just took a text view so that we can actually map this data to that, right? You can just say text dot set text of your display data. Okay? So these are we can actually set. Now let's run this. click on go here. You can see here it's a details, name of ABC and ID. Okay. Now this is how you can actually map your object by using your serializable interface, implementing serializable, because you have to convert the class into object buffer converter form. How to do that is, this is the only way how you can actually make your object to convert into buffer form. And we are using the same thing, which in our put extra you have one type called serializable, where you can actually put a value. So these are, you can actually map your into object. Right? Now this is about your bundling, how we can actually handle different things and all. And there is one point here, guys. As you can see, you have a bundle object, right? You can actually get that directly from using this. You don't have to create a bundle and then get. You can see here, you can directly get intent. I hope you know this part. You can just say get extras dot. You can directly say get serializable something. You don't have to create separate object of this and all. But there is a clean way to do that. That's why I don't prefer this. Directly go for creating an object and do something. So that tomorrow, even if you want to do any maintenance on this, you can actually map this to anything else. Right? So that's how we can do. So any doubts here, guys?